The galaxy learned the sound of human grief too late. It wasn't loud at first. There were no war declarations, no armadas surging from Sol, no furious speeches flooding the Galactic Council feeds. After the Card Dominion's strike on Earth, humanity did something far more unsettling. They went silent. Earth's planetary networks flatlined within minutes of the bombardment. Orbital habitats shattered like glass beads under antimatter rain. Cities burned in neat, calculated patterns, schools first, then hospitals, then population centers marked as future resistance risks. In car targeting algorithms. 87 million confirmed dead. Children made up nearly half. The Card Dominion called it preventive pacification. Their ambassador stood before the Galactic Council, chitin polished, mandibles clicking with smug restraint. Humanity demonstrated unacceptable aggression potential. We neutralized that potential. Some counselors flinched. Most did not. The car had always been the Council's blunt instrument, ugly, brutal, effective. Empires stayed peaceful when monsters enforced the rules. The human ambassador, Elias Rourke, arrived late. His suit was scorched. There was ash on his cuffs that no cleaning drone had removed. He didn't ask for recognition. He didn't plead for sanctions or aid. He simply stood there, eyes hollow, hands clenched so tightly his knuckles had split. You didn't neutralize aggression, Rourke said quietly. You fertilized it. The car ambassador laughed, a dry, clicking sound. Spare us your mammalian theatrics. Rourke nodded once, as if accepting a personal truth. Understood. Then he turned and walked out of the chamber. No human representative returned to the council after that day. 3 weeks passed. The galaxy exhaled. Analysts declared humanity broken, another cautionary tale of a species that reached too far, too fast. Trade lanes reopened. News cycles moved on. Then Outpost K-117 vanished. It was a car listening station on the edge of human space, little more than a sensor lattice and a garrison of 500. One moment it was transmitting routine data. The next, nothing. No explosion. No debris. Just an empty volume of space where matter had recently existed. The car Admiralty blamed a reactor failure. 2 days later, a convoy escorting slave labor transports failed to arrive at Vel-Nar. Its last transmission was a confused burst of static and a single phrase picked up by multiple relays. They're inside the shadows. Then a border system went dark. Not destroyed. Disconnected. Stars still burned. Planets still orbited. But every satellite, every beacon, every ship was gone, as if someone had reached into the system and removed anything capable of speaking. Fear crept in sideways. The car response was predictable. Patrol fleets doubled. Weapons went hot. Admirals scoffed in public and drank in private. Humans lack fleet parity, Admiral Xyrix declared. They cannot fight us conventionally. That assumption killed his empire. The first human ship appeared above Vel-Nar Prime during the Festival of Ascendancy. The sky was filled with ceremonial craft and orbital fireworks when the anomaly registered, a warped silhouette sliding out of nothingness. The ship was wrong. Too small. Too asymmetrical. Its hull bore scars instead of polish, layered plating welded with ugly efficiency. No transponder. No visible weapon ports. Just a faint gravitational distortion that made nearby vessels drift like nervous fish. Planetary defense cannons locked on. And failed. Targeting systems glitched, feeds overlaid with impossible data, human languages bleeding into car code, ancient radio formats hijacking quantum channels. The defense grid shut itself down to avoid cascading overload. The human ship broadcast. Not a demand. Not a threat. A woman's voice, calm and steady, carried across every frequency. This is Captain Mara Cade, United Earth Remnant. The phrase hit the galaxy like a hammer. Remnant. You killed our children, Cade continued. We're here to discuss what that cost you. The moon shattered. Not exploded, split. A precise destabilization of its core sent fractures racing through the crust. Massive segments broke free, guided by invisible forces, slamming into car military installations with surgical accuracy. Shipyards vanished. Defense arrays folded inward. Command bunkers were crushed under mountains that fell from the sky. Civilian districts were untouched. The message was unmistakable. This was not rage. This was restraint sharpened into terror. Across the galaxy, footage spread faster than censorship could contain it. Analysts replayed the strike frame by frame, unable to understand the physics. Military theorists argued themselves hoarse. How did the humans do this? Why didn't they glass the planet? What kind of species chooses not to? On Velenar Prime, Governor Threxel watched the devastation from his palace balcony, mandibles trembling. This is escalation, he whispered. No, his aide replied, voice shaking. This is instruction. Within hours, encrypted human signals began appearing across car space, brief, precise, terrifyingly personal. Names of officers. Locations of hidden depots. Dates of classified atrocities the car believed buried forever. And always, attached at the end of each transmission. We remember. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. The car ambassador raged, demanding immediate joint military action. Some councilors agreed. Others noticed something far worse. Humanity was not attacking trade hubs. Not striking civilian populations. Not even declaring war. They were dismantling the machinery of empire. And they were doing it quietly. In a dimly lit operations room somewhere far from Seoul, Captain Mara Cade removed her helmet and stared at a wall of names scrolling endlessly. Children, teachers, medics, entire families. An officer beside her spoke softly. First phase complete. Cade nodded, eyes never leaving the list. Good, she said. Wake the rest of them. Because humanity had not gone silent after Earth burned. They had gone hunting. Panic doesn't announce itself. It seeps. Across car space, reports began to contradict one another. Supply depots claimed perfect inventories while frontline fleets starved. Prison worlds sent routine status updates even as their warden corps vanished overnight. Patrol captains swore they were under attack, yet no enemy ships appeared on scopes. The Car Dominion called it information instability. Humans called it preparation. The Galactic Council demanded restraint from all parties, issuing carefully worded resolutions that said nothing and committed less. Behind closed doors, senior counselors watched classified feeds and began to understand the pattern. Humanity was not fighting territory. They were fighting systems. On the industrial moon Kravesh, a car logistics hub supplying 3 sectors, the night shift reported a power fluctuation at 2:14 local. Automated diagnostics cleared it within seconds. Production resumed. At 2:16, every gravlift failed. At 2:17, oxygen recycling shut down in military-only sectors. At 2:18, human symbols, old Terran military unit insignias long thought obsolete, appeared on internal displays, burned directly into the firmware. Then a human voice filled the moon-wide PA system. This facility supported the bombardment of Earth. The voice said, male, flat, almost bored. Civilians will be escorted to safety. Resistance will be treated as consent. Car security forces mobilized. They never found the enemy. They found doors sealed from the inside. Weapon lockers empty. Command officers locked in their own briefing rooms as atmosphere thinned. Surveillance footage showed only shadows, angles that bent wrong, empty corridors where sound lagged behind motion. Human infiltration teams didn't announce themselves. They edited reality around their targets. When it was over, Kravesh still existed. Its factories still stood. But its military capacity was gone, stripped clean like a carcass picked by precision blades. The Dominion's admirals finally stopped laughing. Admiral Xyrix convened an emergency command summit aboard the flagship Dominion's Fong. His mandibles clicked with barely restrained fury. This is harassment, not war, he snarled. They are stalling, probing. We will draw them into open battle. An aide hesitated. Admiral, They are not avoiding open battle. They are declining it. Xyrix struck the console, cracking the surface. No species declines annihilation. Humanity did. Instead, they broadcast something far worse. Across the galaxy, council networks were hijacked during a routine legislative session. For 7 minutes, only 7, every display showed Earth. Not the burning Earth from car propaganda feeds. The after. Children's shoes fused to pavement. A school desk orbiting silently through space. A recorded emergency call from a teacher, cut off mid-sentence. No narration. No music. Just raw, unfiltered loss. Then a single line of text. You watched this happen. Counselors broke composure. Some stood and shouted. Others looked away. The car ambassador tried to speak. The feed changed. Labor World Sun 12. Collars deactivated. Force fields failing. Overseer barracks sealed from the outside as enslaved workers, species the Council had quietly ignored for decades, realized they were free. Human ships hovered above, weapons cold. A human marine appeared on one feed, helmet under his arm, face scarred and tired. We're not your saviors, he said to the liberated masses. We're just making sure you get the chance to choose who you become. The uprising that followed wasn't chaotic. It was directed. Supply chains collapsed as freed workers shut down key infrastructure. Car garrisons were isolated, cut off from command, their reinforcements rerouted into dead zones by falsified navigation data. Humans slipped into Dominion systems. The Council's legal office filed emergency motions accusing humanity of destabilizing the galactic order. Humanity responded with receipts. Classified treaties. Hidden enforcement contracts. Evidence that the car had been allowed, encouraged, to act as executioners in the Council's name. One council whispered what no one wanted to say aloud. We didn't lose control of the car. We outsourced our conscience. The first true fleet engagement came by accident. A car battle group encountered what appeared to be a damaged human freighter near the edge of the Trask void. Its engines were cold. Hull breached. Transponder broadcasting civilian codes. The car moved in to capture it. Space folded. Human warships emerged from inside the star's gravity well, ships that should have been crushed by tidal forces, using relativistic debris as kinetic weapons. The ambush lasted 90 seconds. When it ended, the car fleet was gone. The freighter powered up and jumped away, hull unscathed. The term slingshot ambush entered military doctrine that day. Captured human personnel were rare. One Marine, wounded and unconscious, was taken aboard Dominion's Fong. During interrogation, a car intelligence officer leaned close, mandibles flared. Why aid inferior species? The officer demanded. Why not simply exterminate us as we did you? The Marine laughed, a wet, painful sound. My daughter, he said hoarsely, used to ask why the villains in history books always thought they were the heroes. The Fong never reached Car Prime. Mid-jump, its core detonated, not from sabotage, but from a human algorithm that had been quietly rewriting its safety tolerances since the moment the Marine was brought aboard. The wreckage emerged across 3 light years. That was when the Council understood the truth. Humanity wasn't fighting to win territory. They were fighting to change the rules. And they were doing it with patience learned from extinction-level grief. In a secure human command node hidden between stars, Ambassador Rourke watched the reports scroll in. A younger officer spoke carefully. Multiple species are offering support. Some want alliance. Others, protection. Rourke closed his eyes for a long moment. Tell them, he said, voice low, that we're not building an empire. He looked up, eyes hard. We're dismantling one. And somewhere deep in car space, Admiral Xyrix finally began to understand that humanity's silence had never been weakness. It had been the sound of a blade being sharpened. The invasion of Car Prime did not begin with fire. It began with laughter. Admiral Xyrix heard it echo through the command spire, short, human bursts crackling across open channels, layered with static and mockery. Not the manic laughter of madness. The weary, gallows humor of soldiers who had already buried their dead and decided fear had nothing left to offer them. Then the sky filled. Human ships emerged in ragged formations, tearing out a folded space like shrapnel punched through reality. They were not uniform. Some bore pristine naval markings. Others were scarred relics with patched hulls, graffiti scrawled in half a dozen human languages. One cruiser carried a cartoon teddy bear clutching a bomb, stenciled across its flank. Another displayed a single sentence in crude block letters. "You started this." Car Prime's planetary defense grid came online at full capacity. Orbital rings rotated. Killsat constellations aligned. The planet had prepared for 100 years to repel invasion. It lasted 12 seconds. Human countermeasures surged through the system: gravitic shear fields, adaptive nullifiers, weaponized math that turned targeting solutions into lies. Energy beams curved, clipped space, and vanished. Kinetic slugs slowed, stopped, then reversed course like embarrassed thoughts. The human fleet did not dodge. They endured. Then they advanced. "This is Admiral Zyrex," the car commander broadcast, mandibles rigid. "You trespass in sovereign space. Withdraw or face extermination." A human voice answered, female, amused. "Negative, Admiral. We're already dead. You're just catching up." Drop pods fell like rain. Not into population centers, but onto shipyards, command nodes, orbital elevators, military academies. The precision was chilling. Human intelligence had mapped every artery of the car war machine, and now they cut them all at once. Urban combat erupted along the edges of cities where military and civilian infrastructure overlapped. Humans fought with ruthless discipline, small units moving like predators, covering one another with unspoken trust. They used old weapons alongside terrifyingly new ones, railguns next to blades, drones next to grenades scrawled with handwritten names. "For Sam. For Nor. For Lily." In one shattered plaza, a human sergeant dragged a wounded car conscript into cover as explosions tore the street apart. "Why save me?" the car gasped, ichor bubbling from his mandibles. The sergeant didn't look at him. "Because this ends with us," he said. "Not with you carrying our guilt." Moments later, he charged a car warbeast, detonating a breaching charge at point-blank range. The blast killed them both. His helmet cam cut out on the word "Home." Above the planet, the unthinkable happened. The Galactic Council fleet arrived. Dozens of ships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, weapons powered but cold. Officially neutral. Legally bound to observe. Morally paralyzed. Counselors watched the invasion unfold in real time, human restraint paired with brutal efficiency, cities spared while military strongholds burned. Admiral Zyrex opened a secure channel to the Council flagship. "You will intervene," he demanded, "or history will remember you as accomplices." The reply came from an unexpected source. Ambassador Elias Rourke appeared on every Council display, his image overriding protocols that had never failed before. He looked older than any of them remembered. Smaller. Heavier. "You already are," Rourke said quietly. Then he sent the data. Not accusations. Not rhetoric. Proof. Internal car communications showing the Earth strike had been premeditated. Council back-channel approvals marked classified necessity. Economic models predicting profit spikes after human removal from contested trade lanes. Silence followed. One counselor whispered, "We sanction genocide." Another asked, voice breaking, "How many times?" Rourke leaned closer to the camera. "You don't get to look away this time." The Council fleet's targeting systems shifted. Slowly. Deliberately. They did not target human ships. They locked onto car orbital defenses. Admiral Zyrex screamed orders, but it was too late. His own allies, those who had fed the Dominion its authority, now turned their guns inward. The betrayal shattered what remained of car resistance. On the surface, human forces pushed toward the command spire. Zyrex barricaded himself inside, surrounded by dead screens and failing shields. When the doors finally blew inward, it wasn't a firing squad that entered. It was Ambassador Rourke, flanked by 2 Marines. Zyrex snarled. "You could have destroyed us. Why this theater?" Rourke looked around the ruined chamber. "Because annihilation is mercy," he said. "And you didn't give that to our children." Zyrex's mandibles trembled. "What happens to us now?" Rourke turned away. "You live." Outside, Car Prime burned, not as a world ending, but as an empire dying. And for the first time since Earth fell, humanity allowed itself to feel something close to satisfaction. Not victory. Recognition. Because the galaxy was finally seeing them clearly. And it was afraid. The aftermath was quiet, almost eerie. Car Prime still rotated under a sky streaked with smoke and fire, but the streets, once crawling with armed soldiers and enforcers, were mostly empty. The human forces did not celebrate. They did not raise banners. They did not gloat. They moved with precision, establishing emergency shelters, distributing food and medical supplies, and securing critical infrastructure. Admiral Zyrex remained alive, though his pride was shattered. He sat in the ruins of the spire, mandibles clicking nervously, while human Marines patrolled outside with rifles slung casually across their shoulders. No one touched him. No one executed him. He was a witness, nothing more. Captain Maracade approached, her boots crunching on shattered glass. She looked down at the fallen empire and spoke softly, almost to herself. "Empires fall. People live." A car corporal, wide-eyed and trembling, asked the question that everyone feared. "What happens to the Dominion?" Rourke stepped forward from the command node, older now, shoulders heavy. His face was lined, but his eyes were sharp, piercing. "They rebuild," he said. "But without tyranny. Without empire. Without fear as a policy." Across the galaxy, word spread like wildfire. Planets long under Car control began declaring autonomy. Pirate clans, border worlds, and exiled factions offered allegiance, or at least neutrality, to humanity. Former enemies, quietly observing, sent messages laced with relief and awe. The phrase repeated itself in hushed tones across every system that had once trembled before Car might. Beware the quiet humans. Because humanity's vengeance had not been loud or flashy. It had been surgical. Every strike, every manipulation, every subtle act of destruction had carried a lesson. You cannot kill our children without consequences. You cannot pretend morality is optional when the species you underestimate remembers. And the humans themselves, they were changed. They were no longer the species that begged for mercy, that pleaded with empires to spare them. They were architects of consequence, delivering it not indiscriminately, but deliberately, with precision and intelligence. They had risen from the ashes of annihilation, forged by grief into predators that preyed not on the weak, but on arrogance, cruelty, and hubris. In the quiet of the aftermath, Rourke addressed the council one final time, his voice calm and measured, echoing across countless channels. "We are not here to rule. We are not here to dominate. We are here to ensure that the galaxy remembers what happens when innocence is destroyed. That is the other side of humanity. And now you have seen it." For the first time in decades, the council fell silent. The weight of their complicity pressed down harder than any weapon could. No sanctions. No fleets. No laws could undo what had been done. The Car Empire, once a symbol of invincible authority, had been reduced to rubble, its survivors left to confront their failures while humanity withdrew, leaving only the lesson behind. And on Earth, scarred, reduced in population, still haunted by ghosts, humans rebuilt. Every action in the galaxy carried a piece of that grief, a trace of that rage, a memory of every child they had lost. Yet in their rebuilding, they carried hope, resilience, and a warning. If you underestimate us, we will find you. And when we do, the other side of humanity will be waiting. The galaxy would never forget the sound of that quiet vengeance. Because humanity had awakened. And no empire, no council, no alien species would ever dare forget it again.